Hi, I'm Joseph with Armstrong Garden Centers. Today we're going to talk about planting tomatoes. You may be wondering, why plant my own tomatoes? Well, there's several reasons for that. For one, you get to enjoy your own harvest. It's educational for kids. You get to share the produce with your friends and family and neighbors. You can go as organic as you want. You know exactly what you're putting into it, so you know exactly what you're getting out of it. Plus, it's fun to be in the garden and play in the dirt. When choosing your tomato, it's important to remember that there are two different types. There are indeterminate and determinate. An indeterminate tomato, like the Better Boy here, produces for a long season. It keeps growing and vining and setting flowers and fruit for many months. And then a determinate tomato flowers and fruits all at once, giving you an abundant harvest, but only at one time of the year. We have many different varieties of tomatoes at Armstrong Garden Centers. We have cherry tomatoes for snacking. We have all-purpose tomatoes like the Celebrity or Better Boy. We have Roma tomatoes, which are fantastic for canning or for saucing. Tomatoes like full sun, so they need to get at least 6 hours of direct light per day, but they can be planted anywhere in your garden, in a raised bed, or in a large container, as we'll demonstrate today. It's important to have rich soil for your tomatoes to grow in. If you're planting in the ground, you want to use the homegrown vegetable planting mix here, and mix that half and half with your native soil to enrich the soil. If you're going in a container, you would use the pot of gold potting soil. If you're putting in a raised bed, you would use our raised bed mix. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to plant a tomato in a large container. It's important to remember that tomatoes have vigorous root systems, so if you're planting in a container, you need to make sure that it is large in size. It's got to be at least 5 gallons in size or larger than that. This is closer to 15, so it's actually perfect. The first thing you're going to do is pre-fill the container so that you have the proper height for the tomato to rest in when you're planting with the pot of gold potting soil here from Dr. Earth. So once you've got it to an appropriate height inside, you'll take the tomato out of its plastic container. You'll loosen up the root ball a little bit so that the roots will spread. And actually for a tomato, it's best to remove the bottom 2 layers or rows, foliage coming off of the plant, and you're actually going to plant this plant deeper. So up to the point, beyond the point of where you pulled the leaves off. This is the only type of plant that you'll do that with. I do not recommend that for any other. Use the rest of the amended soil or potting mix in this instance in and around the root ball. Sprinkle a handful of Dr. Earth root zone in the soil, work it in with your hands, and add water. The organic starter fertilizer helps prevent transplant shock and helps jumpstart root growth so your new plant establishes quickly. And then the last step is to install a tomato cage. The tomato cage is important because as the tomato grows, it's gonna expand beyond the cage itself. The cage helps to hold the fruit as the fruit of the plant gets bigger and bigger so that the branches don't break. It also helps with expanded foliage cover so that you just get a healthier plant. Watering is very important to having a healthy and successful harvest from your tomato plant. After you initially plant the tomato, you want to make sure, especially in a container, that you get this entire root ball saturated, a good thorough soaking. Tomatoes appreciate a thorough soaking, but they never want to remain soggy. So monitor the soil of your plant, and when it is just slightly moist, it's time to water again. When you let the plant go dry, that's when you start to deal with issues such as disease or insect. Always make sure that you water the soil as well, and never the foliage of the plant itself. Regular feeding is very important for tomatoes as it is for other vegetables and fruits. The best tomato fertilizer to use is the Dr. Earth Tomato Vegetable and Herb Fertilizer. You can use this monthly, and it's recommended that you use it monthly, and when you apply, try to scratch it into the surface of the soil so that it penetrates into the root zone. Tomatoes really are easy crops to grow, but sometimes you can run into some issues with disease, insects, or other pests and rodents that get to your tomatoes first. One of the most common issues that we run into is blossom end rot, which is caused by a lack of calcium in the soil. This can be prevented by making sure that you keep an even moist soil, or you can use a product, this tomato blossom set spray from Bonide. You would spray this around the flower and the foliage directly next to the fruit, and that helps add calcium back into the plant. Sometimes you'll have issues with blight or mildew. It's important to remember that air circulation around your plant will help prevent these, and even watering in the soil and not the foliage will help as well. Sometimes you need to combat this a little bit further, and with that we would recommend the copper fungicide. It's an organic spray as well, and we always recommend that anytime you spray a plant, you do it in the evening when the sun is not directly hitting it. Sometimes your tomatoes might crack or split, and this can be due to extreme heat and high wind. Again, watering is key to help prevent this, or placing and planting your tomato in a protected area can help as well. Beneficial insects such as ladybugs can help control the population of aphids that do love tomatoes as well. If you're looking for a topical solution, we have insecticidal soap and neem oil to help control pests and insects. So now you're ready to start planting. Come see us at Armstrong Garden Centers, and one of our friendly horticulturists will help you and set you up for success.